In a vast savanna, life flows peacefully. Giraffes walk gracefully, enjoying their freedom beneath the endless sky. But for a young giraffe named Kiro, his life is about to change forever. A journey begins. A journey not just about moving to a new place, but about searching for meaning behind the iron bars. Do we truly know where we are meant to be? Do our strengths still matter if we are in the wrong place? In a vast savanna, the wind blew gently through the stretches of dry grass and towering acacia trees. In this place, a herd of giraffes lived under the care of a young shepherd named Donu. Every day, Donu guided the giraffes across the warm land, letting them find the green leaves that grew at the tops of the trees. Among the herd, there was a mother giraffe named Luma and a curious young calf, Kiro. Since he was little, Kiro always followed his mother wherever she went. With his small, agile steps, he tried to keep up with his mother's long strides. He felt that the outside world was full of dangers if he strayed even a little from Luma. One scorching afternoon, Kiro noticed a herd of zebras crossing the grasslands. Their breaths were heavy and sweat dripped from their bodies. The zebras looked exhausted, unlike the giraffes who remained standing tall and calm. Curious, Kiro asked his mother, "Mom, why do the zebras look so tired?" Luma turned and gently replied, "Because they have to run to survive. They are not as strong as we are on long journeys, and they cannot reach food in high places like we can." Kiro's curiosity grew. He started asking more questions about zebras, what their strengths were, what they ate, and why they couldn't walk as leisurely as giraffes. With great patience, Luma answered each of her son's questions, allowing Kiro to understand the wider world. Days passed, and Kiro continued to learn about life in the savannah. He began to understand how their herd always moved in search of food, how they could spot danger from afar thanks to their long necks, and how their strong legs allowed them to run if a predator lurked nearby. But one quiet evening, their lives changed drastically. As the sun began to set, a group of humans approached the giraffe herd. They spoke with Donu, and some of them looked at Luma and Kiro with keen interest. Then, something unexpected happened. Luma and Kiro were separated from their herd and forced into a large truck. From a distance, Kiro saw Donu receiving a bag of money from the strangers. He didn't fully understand what was happening, but a deep fear began to settle in his heart. "Mom, where are we going?" he asked in a trembling voice. Luma didn't know the answer. She could only lower her head and gently say, "I don't know, my dear, but I promise I will always protect you." The long journey inside the truck felt strange to Kiro. He felt like the world he once knew was getting further and further away. When he tried to peek outside through the gaps in the truck, he no longer saw the vast grasslands. Instead, there were dusty roads, tall buildings, and unfamiliar noises that echoed in his ears. After several days, they arrived at a completely new place, a zoo. When the truck's doors opened, Luma and Kiro were led into a large enclosure surrounded by tall iron fences. Although there were trees and grass inside, it felt entirely different from their home in the savannah. Now, they no longer roamed freely in search of leaves. They could no longer run as far as they wanted. Their food always came in sufficient amounts, but they no longer had to search for it themselves. Days passed with the same routine. Visitors came and went, admiring them from behind the fences. Sometimes little children exclaimed in awe at their long necks. But for Kiro, the world inside the iron bars felt small and confining. One evening, Kiro sat beside his mother, gazing at the sky, which no longer seemed as vast as it had in the savannah. After a moment of silence, he asked, "Mom, why are our necks so long?" Luma smiled and replied, "Our necks are long so we can reach the leaves at the tops of trees that other animals cannot." Kiro nodded, but he felt there was something he still didn't understand. "But here, we don't need to reach for leaves. The food is always placed low." Luma fell silent for a moment before answering, "Yes, my dear. But our long necks are still part of who we are." Kiro thought for a moment, then asked again, "Then why are our legs so long and strong?" Luma patiently explained, "Our legs help us run and survive in the savannah. With these legs, we can escape predators." Kiro reflected once more. "But here, we don't need to run. There are no predators." Finally, in a quiet voice, Kiro asked, "Then what is the use of all our strengths here?" Luma looked at her son with deep affection. She knew that Kiro was beginning to understand a truth she had long felt. With a gentle voice, she said, "Sometimes we are born with incredible abilities, but we are in the wrong place to use them. We are not at fault, it is simply that we are not in the right environment." That night, Kiro couldn't sleep. He thought about his mother's words and tried to understand their meaning. He knew he had strength and unique abilities, yet he felt unable to use them in this place. Deep in his heart, he made a promise one day he would find a place where he truly belonged. Sometimes we feel useless not because we lack abilities, but because we are in the wrong place. Find an environment that appreciates and allows you to use your strengths to the fullest.